Just before midnight, a lonely cowboy spotted an elderly Apache man digging in complete silence at the edge of the desert. The old man refused to explain why, asking only for one night of trust. Curious, the cowboy picked up a shovel and began digging beside him. Hour after hour, they searched beneath the cold desert sky. Then, as the first rays of sunrise touched the ground, their shovels struck something no one had seen for generations. By the time the truth reached town, every voice fell silent. What they uncovered would change the frontier forever. The desert was unusually quiet that evening. A bright full moon cast a silver glow across the open land, lighting the winding trails that stretched between towering red cliffs and scattered cactus plants. The warm air carried the scent of sage as Ethan Carter guided his faithful horse along the familiar path toward his ranch. It had been a long day. Ethan had spent the afternoon delivering supplies to a nearby settlement. He was eager to return home before sunrise, where a fresh pot of coffee and a few hours of rest were waiting for him. The frontier had taught him to value peaceful nights because they were often rare. As he rounded a bend near an old cottonwood tree, something unusual caught his attention. A small lantern flickered in the distance. Ethan slowed his horse. Someone was working at this late hour. Curious, he rode closer until he saw an elderly Apache man carefully digging into the dry earth with a worn shovel. His movements were slow but steady, and every scoop of sand seemed to carry great purpose. Though his face showed the marks of many years, his eyes remained calm and determined. Ethan climbed down from his horse and approached with respect. "Good evening," he said gently. "Are you all right?" The elder paused, resting both hands on the handle of the shovel. "I am," he replied with a warm smile. Ethan noticed a small water bag resting beside the lantern. "You have been working for quite some time," he said. "Would you like some fresh water or a little help?" The old man accepted the water with gratitude, but did not answer the second question right away. Instead, he looked toward the quiet desert stretching beneath the moonlight. Finally, he spoke. "I have searched for this place for many years." Ethan glanced at the shallow hole in the ground. "What are you looking for?" The elder smiled softly. "I cannot explain it yet." His answer only deepened Ethan's curiosity. The old man gently pressed the shovel back into the earth. "Some promises," he said quietly, "can only be understood after they are kept." The words stayed with Ethan. He respected the elder's privacy, so he tipped his hat, wished him well, and climbed back into the saddle. For several minutes, he continued riding toward home. The trail grew quieter. Even the sound of his horse's footsteps seemed distant. Yet the image of the elderly man digging alone beneath the moon refused to leave his mind. Ethan finally pulled on the reins. He looked back toward the faint glow of the lantern. Something inside him said the old man should not spend the entire night alone. Without another thought, Ethan turned his horse around and rode back. When he reached the cottonwood tree again, the elder looked up in quiet surprise. "I changed my mind," Ethan said with a smile. "If you are willing to trust me, I would like to help." The elder studied him for a moment before handing him a second shovel that rested against the tree. "Then let us finish what was started long ago." Side by side, the two men dug beneath the peaceful desert sky. They spoke very little. The only sounds were the steady rhythm of the shovels and the gentle wind moving across the open land. Hours passed as the stars slowly faded. Then, just as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Ethan's shovel struck something hard beneath the earth. He looked at the elder. The old man smiled, but said nothing. Ethan carefully set his shovel aside and knelt beside the spot where the hard object rested beneath the sand. The elder brushed away the loose soil with his hands, moving slowly as though every handful carried a precious memory. "It is here," the old man whispered. Together they cleared away more earth until the corner of an old wooden chest appeared. Time had darkened the wood, but it remained strong. Thick leather straps still held the lid firmly closed. Neither man spoke. With great care, they lifted the chest from the ground and placed it on a flat patch of sand beneath the cottonwood tree. The first rays of sunlight stretched across the desert, filling the quiet morning with a warm golden glow. The elder closed his eyes for a moment before gently opening the lid. Inside were carefully wrapped bundles protected by soft cloth. Ethan watched as the elder slowly uncovered each one. There were beautifully woven blankets, finely crafted beadwork, carved wooden keepsakes, journals filled with handwritten pages, and small family treasures that had been preserved with remarkable care. The elder smiled through tearful eyes. "My grandfather buried these many years ago," he said softly. "He wanted our family's history to survive until the right time." Ethan listened without interrupting. "As a child, I heard stories about this place," the elder continued. "Many believed the chest had been lost forever. I returned every year, hoping one day I would find it." Ethan carefully picked up one of the carved wooden figures before placing it back exactly where it belonged. "These should be returned to your people," he said. The elder nodded. "That is why I asked the desert for patience." He looked at Ethan with quiet gratitude. "And perhaps it also sent me a friend." The two men carefully closed the chest and secured the leather straps once again. As the sun climbed higher above the red cliffs, they lifted the chest together. The journey was not over. Now they had to carry the forgotten history of an entire family back to the people who had waited generations to see it again. By late morning, Ethan and the elder reached the Apache village with the old wooden chest resting safely in a small wagon. News of their arrival spread quickly, and families gathered in the center of the village. Curious faces surrounded them, wondering what could be important enough for the respected elder to return with such careful attention. The tribal chief stepped forward and warmly welcomed the two men. The elder placed a hand on the weathered chest. "I have brought home something our ancestors never wanted us to lose," he said quietly. The chief slowly opened the lid. A deep silence settled over the gathering. One by one, he lifted the carefully wrapped treasures from inside. The woven blankets displayed familiar patterns that many elders recognized from stories told by their grandparents. The carved wooden keepsakes brought gentle smiles, while the old journals revealed names that had not been spoken aloud for many years. An elderly woman softly covered her mouth as she recognized a small beaded pouch her grandmother had often described. "I never thought I would see this with my own eyes," she whispered. Soon, others began sharing memories passed down through their families. Children listened closely as their elders explained the meaning behind each treasured item. What had once been only stories had now become something they could see and hold. The tribal chief turned toward Ethan. "You helped preserve a part of our history," he said with sincere gratitude. "For that, our people will always remember your kindness." Ethan gently shook his head. "I simply helped a man keep his promise." The elder smiled proudly. "And because you did, our children will know where they came from." As the afternoon sun warmed the village, the chief invited Ethan to remain for the evening gathering, where the full story behind the hidden chest would finally be shared with everyone. As the sun began to set, families gathered around a peaceful evening fire. The elder stood beside the wooden chest, his voice calm as everyone listened. "My grandfather did not bury these treasures because they were valuable," he said. "He buried them so our children would one day remember who they are." The village remained silent. He explained that every blanket, journal, and carved keepsake carried the story of a family, a tradition, and a life. If they had been lost, an important part of their history would have disappeared forever. The chief then turned to Ethan. "You arrived as a visitor," he said with a warm smile. "Tonight, you leave as our friend." He presented Ethan with a small hand-carved wooden horse, carefully polished by local craftsmen. "This is not a reward," the chief continued. "It is a reminder that kindness creates friendships that time cannot erase." Ethan accepted the gift with gratitude. "I will treasure it always," he replied. As the evening ended, laughter and stories filled the village. Ethan realized the greatest discovery was never hidden beneath the desert sand. It was the trust that had grown between two people who had chosen to help one another without expecting anything in return. Several months later, the story of the hidden chest had spread across the frontier. People did not remember it because of the treasures inside. They remembered it because it reminded everyone that history is worth protecting and kindness is never forgotten. Ethan visited the Apache village often, where he was always welcomed as a trusted friend. The elder smiled each time he saw children reading the old journals, admiring the handcrafted keepsakes, and listening to stories that had almost been lost with time. One peaceful morning, Ethan stood beneath the same cottonwood tree where they had first begun digging. The elder joined him with a gentle smile. "You helped uncover more than a wooden chest," he said. You helped uncover memories that will live for generations. Ethan looked across the desert as the rising sun painted the cliffs in shades of gold. I only offered a helping hand, he replied. The elder nodded. Sometimes that is all it takes to change the future. As the morning light filled the valley, both men stood in quiet gratitude, knowing that the greatest treasures are not buried beneath the earth. They live in the stories we preserve, the friendships we build, and the kindness we choose to share with others. Thank you for watching this Wild West journey from beginning to end. If this story reminded you that a simple act of kindness can preserve history, build trust, and change lives, we hope it inspired you as much as it inspired us. Sometimes the greatest discoveries are not made with strength or luck, but with patience, respect, and the willingness to help someone in need. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video. Your support helps this channel reach more people who love heartfelt Western stories. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more original Wild West adventures featuring brave cowboys, unforgettable Apache characters, inspiring friendships, and meaningful life lessons. If this story touched your heart, share it with your friends and family so they can enjoy the adventure too. Until our next journey across the frontier, thank you for being here. Take care, keep kindness alive wherever you go, and we will see you in the next Wild West story.